It's gonna take 4 seconds.
4 seconds. All
Just
right.
get ready to do your intro.
I don't even have a goddamn intro.
Make
Make an intro. Yeah. So, welcome to the first live show, live stream. I never, well, haven't done this before, on my own platform. So, this is me welcoming myself to the future, and I'm glad to have my brother who walked me through it, Pit Boss, live right now with me. Say what's up to the people.
What's up with your brother Rawyal News and Entertainment? We live. We got you into the future, man.
In the future. I mean, it's only right. See, I still don't see it coming up on my channel.
I'm looking
so I could
live in action. You got 3 watching, and the numbers growing. You rolling.
Okay. So, obviously, we want to talk about this Fidel
Numbers growing.
Fidel Death.
Okay.
Where you at?
I'm right here. I had to cut the volume so we didn't get any feedback.
Okay. All right. So there's no feedback on my end. You don't have any feedback on my end, right?
You good.
All right, cool. So, yeah. So, first of all, you gotta, I wanted to start off the conversation, with this right here, just asking anybody listening, including yourself, is it, do you think it's a coincidence that the JFK death wasn't really publicized this year, right? It wasn't really a big deal on the media, but just so happened that Fidel Castro passes 4 days after his death anniversary. So is that like a coincidence? Especially the games that the media play, and we can get a little further into other issues and topics that tie into this whole scenario. But I usually with my live conversation with some of the brothers offline, we usually have some of the rawest conversations. So I just want to kind of like add this to the channel, add that element of surprise to the channel, or that element of rawness to the channel, where we could, just have an open discussion and see where it go. I'm kind of, like you said, I'm just bringing myself or my platform back into the future, back into up to date.
Yeah. Well,
but
those deaths, we probably have to take more examination of actual dates and times, because a lot of times when we're looking at these kind of subject matters, dates have they play important factors in various signals that they tend to give off. Don't you think?
Yeah, it's if you understand the numbers, it's a big deal when it comes to the numbers game. With some of these fraternities and all of that. So one of the things is if you really look at the fact that JFK's death, his anniversary of his death wasn't really publicized. It wasn't seen as a big deal. So for this to happen 4 days later, and Trump's tweet, saying Fidel Castro was dead, and earlier in the year, the Obama administration opening or lifting the embargo and on Cuba, you gotta, all of these things play a large part. And what Dr. Francis Cress Wilson would say, as far as the long term goal, of these corporations and these entities that she would call purely white supremacy, what I just call oppression, oppressors. I don't call them supreme. You know what I'm saying? That's not the mindset of a man who does certain things and just murders and sodomizes people and all of that. That's not a supreme thinker. That's an oppressor. So I don't even like to address it like that. So I just think that 4 days later, after JFK's death, you got to think about the Cuban Missile Crisis. That almost dominoed into World War III. So JFK and Fidel Castro, was were the key figures as far as stopping and possibly causing World War III. And so I understand, but I just think it's important to acknowledge the fact that Bay of Pigs invasion was a CIA operation, right? That whole Bay of Pigs, Zapata oil, and creating something where they just wanted to take over the resources that they usually do. And when you get to a point where the CIA at that point was about to be broken up by John F. Kennedy, so it was about to be over for them. So with John F. Kennedy is about to break up the CIA, and the CIA have these ongoing Cuban invasions, and you got Che Guevara, and you got Fidel Castro over there defending so they're
That's
defending their small country against a small military, a small private military, which is the CIA. And the CIA was trying to bait into backing them with an airstrike to bomb Cuba in turn, so the CIA can just continue on and grow as a police unit. And today, obviously, the CIA is still functioning because JFK was not able to disband them. Why? Because the CIA also is involved. If you look at so many documentaries, you'll see that the CIA somehow was involved with his murder. You got what I'm saying? So that was their stamp on the world, saying that they was a force to be reckoned with, and actually that pushed the FBI back down a notch under them when they murdered the president. So LBJ and that whole Bush regime comes up with the CIA. That the Bush is tied to the CIA,
yeah.
and the CIA ties to this Bay of Pigs.
Well,
So that's
in 1973, the CIA director's name was James Schlesinger, and he created documents that they filed under the name of family jewels that he commissioned. And he signed this directive commanding the senior officer to complete a report of the current and the past CIA actions that have fallen outside the agency's character, as the various things they were doing to Castro, as you mentioned, were like out of bounds of the normal procedures that the CIA was working with in the 70s. So that's interesting that you bring this up.
right. So when you look at some of their covert tactics, and then you fast forward into today, and the way that I say, one of the main reasons why I say today is not far removed from yesterday is because the same way they killed Che Guevara, who is Fidel Castro's confidant, they went ahead and assassinated the Libyan president, Muammar Gaddafi, in the same brutal fashion, the same horrible, brutal fashion. I got some pictures that I think I'll share my screen, and once I'm still walking me through it, I still got it. But one of the things is when you look at how they killed Muammar Gaddafi, and you parallel that to Che Guevara in the Cuban Missile Crisis and all of these things, and then you look at today's atmosphere where, okay, now Cuba is open for trade. When you're open for trade, you have to send in the military to protect your products and goods and services. Now, the next conversation that I want to have after this one is the Assata Shakur conversation. Is she safe? That's really the next conversation. So, if I'm not sure if anybody want to add on to what we have here before I show these pictures, before we kind of move on to the Assata conversation.
Well, let me drop an interesting fact that they say about Fidel Castro is that he's the second longest president to hold power behind Queen Elizabeth II. And he has definitely been around since about the 1959 in power. So there is something distinguishable about his reign of power. And it does seem interesting if Assata Shakur will be safe coming in with Trump and the opening of, like you said, open international trade with Cuba and them opening the borders. So that will give reign to many, many people to go into Cuba to do business, and you know the CIA will be closing in.
Yeah, they're already there. They're already there. And we're gonna get into that conversation. I'm gonna share the screen. I'm gonna do my best to share the screen and not make a mess of this. I'm gonna share the screen and pull up some pictures that I have, and you know, we can start the conversation from there. Now let me move this thing out the way. Okay.
Okay, we can see your screen.
Okay. You see that mess? All right, let's pull this up right here. All right. All right. So y'all didn't see none of the nudies. No, I'm joking. All right. All right, so on the left, what we got? Let's
Okay,
start
we don't
over here.
see the pictures yet. We right now we see your
You see the
screen
pictures
of,
right here moving?
no, we see your YouTube page.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
now the pictures.
You can see the pictures?
Yes, we can see the pictures now.
All right. All right. So now, you know, one of the interesting things, I don't know how true it is, the CIA or the FBI wound up writing a memo that Marilyn Monroe had some type of sexual relationship with Fidel Castro, so the CIA had to assassinate her. So I didn't, you know, that's like a small interesting thing to me when you look at the fact that let me see if I can open this up, man. Let's see if I can open this up. Can you see this?
Yes,
Okay, well, you say the retired CIA agent.
we see it.
All right, is okay. So this CIA agent said he had to kill Marilyn Monroe because he wanted to protect the U.S. secrets. So that's just something that, you know, I never would tie Marilyn Monroe to Fidel Castro, but you know, this is some of the type of things that these guys were responsible for. Just random, just to break down somebody's nation, to break down somebody's country. They would go and create whether it was from propaganda or just creating these false flags throughout nations and toppling nations. And when you got somebody like Fidel Castro trying to help other nations that you know, like in Africa, when you knew they was going at the Congo, and you know the long history of the invasions, you know, on the melanated nations.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just something where you see, if you
Can
can
you
still see these
expand that
pictures.
box up there for us?
One more time, say that again.
Can you expand that particular box?
This one right here.
Yeah, that's your.
Okay.
Just hit the
All right.
expand.
All right.
No, no, up there. There you go.
All right.
There.
All right. So let's see if I can zoom in. I don't think it's let me zoom in or nothing like that right now, but
That's better.
yeah, this is just to show how important, you know, the Cuban, U.S., Russian. This was World War III. Like this was, you know, this was a big deal, and it's still obviously a big deal because they're trying to the U.S. Cuban relationship. I mean, excuse me, the U.S. Russian relationship is something that is continuously mentioned. You know, one day they're the bad guy, the next day nobody knows. And now with this whole Trump situation, because it's all business, it's not like, you know, there's a personal vendetta. You know, it's just business. This is just a long running bank industry. This is a banking issue. This is a business. So at this point, you know, you can see this is what ties Cuba with Russia and the U.S. You know, and JFK. This is like one of the main reasons that I put this picture here is because you got JFK being, you know, he comes up with Cuba, and again with JFK's death anniversary just 4 days ago. And then all of a sudden, Fidel Castro passes away. And this was one of those years when I don't know how many people we lost this year, man. It was like some of the greatest people that you can think about, you know, as far as Dr. Sebi, you know, and Prince, and just great, powerful people. And subtly, you know, it was something where if you wasn't paying attention, you know, because of the $500 million plus, or excuse me, possibly upwards to $1 billion that they spent on creating distractions. This is something that's that we can have a conversation about later. That the Pentagon was spending, and other private businessmen were spending upwards of $100 million to create distractions, to put fights on your Facebook and your YouTubes and on Instagrams or whatever, like just to create distractions. So when things like this, subtle little things like this happen, it either goes over your head or it goes unchallenged. So that's why I was like, well, let's have a discussion on this, and before we get to the before we get to see, and then you can see here with the newspaper where you see they had a plot to kill Castro, and then when you go to for the record, what is it? What you have the number down to 639 or?
Yeah, 634 attempts in like about a 10-year span. At I believe it was like from where in around 1950 to about 1970, or a 20-year span, about 635 attempts
On his life.
Yes.
And all types of attempts. So you can see he's holding up the picture to verify that, and it's almost comical to him because America, or excuse me, the U.S. is such a dominant military force, and if you understand, these private corporations, these private militarized corporations, such as the CIA, was the ones that were behind most of these attempts. And again, over here is this guy Che Guevara. And he's an important key figure, and most people who you got to be familiar with this man right here, who was a revolutionist, and like you see a lot of people wearing the t-shirts with his face on it. This is Che Guevara, and
Right.
he was assassinated. And this is Che in Africa.
Mm-hmm. I believe you showed a picture of Malcolm X earlier, and I believe Malcolm X, comforted Castro to his visit in Harlem. I believe that picture comes out of Harlem.
Yeah, on what was that, 116th Street, I believe. I think it was like 116th Street. This hotel, I forgot the name of the hotel, Mother or something. Don't have me getting the line, but anybody could Google that and it'll come up. But yeah, Malcolm. One of the things I think I had a conversation with somebody not too long ago about how Malcolm X, his if you listen to all his conversations about how the Muslims were nonviolent, and now you listen to the propaganda and the rhetoric now, they're countering everything Malcolm said about Muslims, like to make Muslims seem as if they're the most violent. When, as you can see with this, this picture right here, this is this is U.S. This is the U.S. Pulling off half of the atrocities that we would consider as violent or whatever. So it's I think that's what I got on them for right now. And thank you for coming through. And yeah, this is
we look forward to the high technology you done brought to the
Hey man, this is how brutal these guys are. Pardon the picture, for that's how brutal these guys are. That's Che Guevara. That's his last. This is his last picture. You understand? They took his teeth out. They was taking pieces of his body as this macabre, type collector's items. So this is what we're dealing with, and the propaganda that we're dealing with today ties directly to this whole JFK scenario. And JFK obviously ties to JFK, U.S., Russia, tied directly to Cuba, and for the passing of Fidel Castro. It's a big loss for the world. Fidel Castro shared the struggle of our people and defended us at every given turn. I'm sure there's some Cubans that may disagree, because you got to realize there was a whole anti-Cuban, anti-Castro Cuban faction that was used here also that was almost framed for JFK's assassination if the Oswald story didn't go through. So I would, hopefully some people check out the, people take time and go check out the JFK videos that I just put up. The last video that I put up was the JFK assassination, and it kind of shows that some of the breakdowns, and we can go through it and walk through how the driver assassinated him, but how many people was tied to that. But today is the mourning and the loss. We're mourning the loss of a giant, Fidel Castro, global giant. A king of a man, a god of a man, who did what he could for the small guy, for the little guy.
Yeah,
And I just want to send a salute.
yeah, and just to show during the crisis in Louisiana when it was flooded out, Fidel Castro offered multiple doctors to come and assist, and though United States denied his offer, he did make the offer to send doctors into Louisiana during the flooding at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also seen something. I think there was like a little post, and it was showing like, with the Cuban healthcare and being free. They had they give the most assistance, as far as globally with helping nations in need of medical care. So, Cuba, the propaganda from U.S. is something where, they went so hard on them, as far as starving him economically, and just trying to defame his character. So when you see pictures of people in Miami celebrating, it's just, that's sad to see, but when you listen to Fidel Castro's speeches and you see the translation and you read those speeches, there's nothing malice, there's no callousness to those speeches. You can hear the sincerity in his voice, and I'm not saying that to me personally. I look at him like he probably was going to pass away or passed away soon, but just the coincidence of him passing away 4 days after JFK's assassination anniversary is something that you gotta ask. Is it a coincidence with so many greats, being just with their untimely deaths, such as like a Dr. Sebi, uh, Tupac's mother, Prince, and so many people that just coincidentally, they so happen to, just magically slip into death comas. And and for Fidel Castro to do so much work throughout the world, and then you have the U.S. seen as they putting the U.S. up as celebrating his death. I think that's unfair. So I was hoping that this little bit of broadcast is giving people, shedding a little light that we don't all feel that way, and I'm sure social media wise, you can see people, putting up the Castro pictures and showing that, there's, we don't have any malice towards Castro like that, and most of that stuff is propaganda, crisis actors, or children of CIA agents that was attempting on his 600 deaths, 600 murder plots. So that's what it is. What I got on my end.
Okay, well, it was good to be on the first broadcast live of the Rawyal News Network.
That's right.
Digital Pit Boss.
And this is Rawyal News Entertainment Channel. And thanks for checking it out. Thanks for coming through, Pit Boss, and hopefully you stick around and chop it up with me for the Asada Shakur combo.
Sounds good, bro.
All right, peace.